smack in the middle.
And we are on, ladies and gentlemen. Emanuella is wiggling in and out of her screen. We're here.
There. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm just so excited to be here.
Me too. So I'm here in Australia. It's 7 o'clock Saturday morning, and you are in the beautiful United States. Where are you at, Emanuella?
I'm outside of Seattle. I'm in the beautiful Pacific Northwest.
I love the beautiful Pacific Northwest. It is a fabulous place to be. And we were meant to be having a class there in 2 weeks. I was excited to come to the Emerald City. I had all these graphics ready that had like the Wizard of Oz in the Emerald City. And guess what? We can't have a live class. Well, I can't leave Australia at the moment. So that's not stopping us. We are still creating this right voice class. But what it occurs to me is there's a lot of people out there who don't really know what right voice is, or have a lot of like ideas about what they think it is. So I wanted to get together with you here and have a chat about that and see what's coming up for you around this class already before we even started.
Tons of questions. So if you're open to it, I'll ask you a bunch of questions. So
absolutely.
So you're doing a class all online.
Yes.
So how is that different? Because most people are used to right voice being you get up on a stage, and how is it different now?
Wow, that's an awesome question. It's hugely different because you're right. So much of what right voice for you is about is we use the stage, but it's not about being on stage. It's more about the presence and the engagement and the ability to put yourself out there and be seen, even though you might think you shouldn't or can't, and what that brings up for you. So doing it online is a totally different muscle. But as you may know, Emanuella, now due to the miracle of social media, we all have this capacity every day of our life to put ourselves out there. But there's this thing that comes up every time you turn on your phone to like make a Facebook video or something that you go, oh my God, what are people going to think? How am I going to look? How am I going to sound? Is this going to work? So we're using this period of lockdown or COVID or whatever you want to call it to exercise that muscle and to invite people and facilitate to a level of engagement that normally isn't present online.
So will you be talking about how to engage a camera or what else?
Yeah. However, the biggest thing I would love people to get about what right voice for you is that it's not about how to. There is nothing in the right voice for you class that is about how to. It's about why not. It's about taking away all the places where you freak out or freeze or stop yourself from doing something. Or all the places where you think you have to learn a technique and put on like a suit of armor to be something, to put yourself out there online, as opposed to just being willing to be you without a point of view and without trying to put on a mask that you use to relate to the world. So
that's brilliant.
Yeah. It's and the reason why I say it's not about how to is I think that so often for those of us who've learned a lot of techniques in the past, as soon as you start doing it from a point of view of a technique, it becomes more of a beingness for those who know what I mean by that, and less of just you being you without a barrier and without any pretense whatsoever. And that can only occur when you stop trying to get it right.
Well, that's the thing I've noticed personally is I just freeze up. Like I turn on a camera and it's like I can't find words.
Right. See, the cool thing about that is quite often that occurs because you're being so much space that the words are not super relevant. But what if the words never were relevant?
What?
Yeah, we think that if we have the right thing to say or we get that one line that makes everyone go, ooh, they're going to validate us and approve of us and like us and want to come to our stuff, etc. But people don't remember what you say for the most part. They remember the energy that you're willing to be, and they remember the question you create in their world, which is a totally different thing than what you think it is that you have to say or do, or like you go to a lot of the schools out there that teach you how to speak or how to present in public, and they give you these like rules and tips to follow. What if there were no rules and tips?
So would you say a right voice for you class will allow you to be more of you?
Yeah, absolutely. If my desire and what I truly would like for people through these classes is that they get a greater sense of them and a greater sense of their reality. They don't learn to do anything like me. They learn to do what works for them. Like, I'll never forget. See, it's funny because I actually have a background in singing and music. And when I first started leading Right Voice for You and facilitating the facilitator training, I said to Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, I said, "Oh, you want me to do this because I'm a singer, right?" He said, "No, no, that's not it at all." He said, "I want you to do this because you have a desire for people to see themselves.
Hmm.
This class is about allowance, it's about vulnerability, and it's about just giving yourself the freedom to enjoy being you."
Hmm.
And there is a place where you can cultivate a level of presence and a level of charisma, and become sort of irresistible and captivating as a speaker and as a person. But that doesn't come from a how-to. That comes from a place in you where you have no judgment of you and you're willing to be as different as you are and allow people into that world. And that's what this class is all about.
So will you be facilitating people during the
Yes,
class?
absolutely. See, normally when we do a class live, we everyone gets up on stage and does things multiple times. It's not a class where you're sitting in the audience and following along in a manual and listening. And I've been to lots of amazing classes like that. But this class is different in that it's much more interactive, and there are quite a few different activities and things that we get people to do to challenge places where they have come to some decisions and definitions about themselves with regards to creativity. Like, we will look at drawing, we will look at writing, we will look at speaking, we will look at storytelling, we will look at all kinds of different aspects of that. And because we're online, we just do it slightly differently.
Sounds amazing.
I'm excited. I mean, this class, it's got such a bubbly energy. We've barely done much to let people know that it's happening, and there's tons of people coming. Everyone wants in. I'm getting messages daily from all over the world saying, "I want to do this class."
So how much of all of it is about inviting the world in, as much as, to me, like Right Voice for You is like getting my voice out there. And for me, it's like I actually have this huge about letting people in my world.
Yeah, totally. Then that's a huge thing, and it's amazing that you brought that up, because for me personally, that's a story that I often tell to show people what engagement really is. Because people think engagement is just as you said, they think it's putting you out there into their world, as though being the loudest person in the room is having your voice and being engaged. But the story that I quite often tell in class is that, like, growing up and throughout most of my life, I always felt super separate from everyone and everything. Like, I would be very aware of everyone around me and all of their thoughts and their pains and their insanities and everything going on in their world would be super present in mine. It was very intense, but I never felt like I was a part of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And my thought was that what I needed to do was be willing to be more out there in the world to get rid of that separation. And I asked Gary Douglas at a 7-day class in New Zealand, I said, okay, what I really would like to change is to be willing to allow everyone into my world. And he said, that's not your issue. That's not what's going on for you. You let everyone in, you receive them and all their craziness and everything else. What you're not willing to do is make you a part of their world.
Oops.
Oops. So engagement really is the willingness to have the world around you be a part of your world, but not separate you from it and allow you to be in it as well.
That is so cool.
Yeah. And it's different for everybody. That's what has been for me. But what I've noticed over the years is there are people that are more willing to be out there and don't really let that much in. And it's, it's different for everybody, whatever's going on. But engagement is something that is available to all of us through some really fun and tangible exercises. Like some of the stuff that we do in class, it's just like you feel it instantly. So Karen is asking us in the chat, how do you deal with loud people? I tend to be loud myself, but shy away from loud people. Well, what I would look at, Karen, is what your judgments are of being loud and loud people. Like, if you really didn't have a point of view and didn't have a judgment of anyone being loud, would it bother you? And you have to look at, if it bothers you in somebody else, is it actually your judgment of you that is creating the issue? You don't need to answer that. Thing is, what I love about Access Consciousness is the inclusiveness of nothing being wrong. Everything and everyone being included, including every energy possible. Needy people, loud people, annoying people, none of them are wrong. They're not right either, but they are a part of oneness. And if you're not willing to have it, it's probably a part of you you're not willing to have.
Well said.
Yeah, and that's what this class is about. Sharing those parts of you as well that you think are unpalatable and will be rejected.
I was going to just tell a quick yesterday, you and I were going to have this conversation and something came up and I was all set and ready to go. And you just said, well, why not make your own damn video? and I'm like, what? I don't want to do that. And I sat and I sat and I sat and I finally actually made a video. But what it came, like, I just was so concerned. Like, it was everything you've said. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I don't say the right? What, like, is anyone going to listen? Does anybody care? And when I finally stopped and just went, you said, do it anyway. We had a conversation recently. You said, whether I feel like it or not, I just get up and I do it, and I don't script it, and I just do it. And that's what I've loved about you. You go, hey, Chris, we need to make a video. And you're like, okay. And you just do it. And yesterday I decided, what's the worst that could happen? I thought, I'll just sit here for 5 minutes and not say anything. And it was literally from that space and giving myself permission to just be, that I had the nicest conversation and I saw beyond the camera as if I was actually talking to someone for the first time. And it was a completely different experience of just being vulnerable with everything that was happening in the moment. And none of it was significant at all. And I
Nice.
had more fun. And I watched it back and went, that's me. Oh my goodness. And I went downstairs and my husband like, what have you been doing? You're just glowing. And I'm like, I was just being me and I put it on camera.
How cool is that? And the awesome part about it, just being willing to take that leap, is that's yours now. And no one can ever take that away from you. And you didn't require anyone to hold your hand. You just went, the hell with it. Let's do it. Like, yeah. The funny thing is, the first facilitator class that I ever did was co-facilitated with Gary Douglas. And I felt really sheepish because at that point, I'd never facilitated a Right Voice for You class yet. And I was like, stepping in the deep end here, starting with facilitators, okay. And he said that same thing to me. He said, what's the worst thing that can happen? You say something wrong? Have you ever said anything wrong? Or do you always say something that creates more? And the other thing, I was just spending a lot of time that first morning facilitating, listening to him. And he said, the thing you got to get about Right Voice for You is that you're not going to learn to get it right. That's not having the right voice. Right Voice for You, if nothing else, is about having all those fears and anxieties come up and you being willing to say, fuck it, let's go. Do it anyway.
Yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And that's really the energy that you be with all of this. It's the part that inspires me so much. Just the classes I've been in, what I've heard you say has really changed. You come at it from such a different perspective. And I love that space that you are and what's possible in that space. I cannot wait to find out in this class.
Me too. Every class has been so totally different with who shows up and what shows up. So they're always an adventure that I look forward to. I mean, and we've had people come that were burlesque dancers and school teachers and stay-at-home moms and executives from the tax department. You know, it's just been like such a broad range of people come, because having your voice is not just reserved for when you are making a broadcast. Having your voice is everything you are in the world and how you relate to the world around you, or rather than relate to it, engage with the world around you.
Yeah, and like you said, whether you're saying anything or not, your voice is still being expressed.
Completely.
Yeah, how fun.
I'm gonna share in the comments here the link to sign up for anyone who is keen. There it is under our chat here. Love this StreamYard thing. It's amazing what you can do. The kingdom of technology. Look at that. So I'm excited. I know you're excited. If anyone else out there who's listening right now has any questions, be happy to answer them. But if not, we're going to love you and leave you. And we start in just a few days, really. Today here in Australia is the 15th, and I believe it's the 21st here.
For you, it's the 20 for us here in the States and Canada and this part of the world. We start in 6 days.
And just to clarify for everyone out there who's interested in coming along as well, it is a 3-day class. However, 3 days online, engaging with the computer is a little bit tough for people. And I prefer it if everyone is super present for the entire time. So it's 3 hours a day for 5 days rather than a 3-day class. So yeah.
Who can come?
Anybody.
Prerequisites?
There's no prerequisites. Absolutely anybody can join and come along.
That's the best part.
Yep.
So what are you waiting for?
I'm waiting for it to start. That's what.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emanuella. It's always a joy, and I look forward to seeing what gets created in class. So, bye, everybody.